welcome to the reality bonus.
Yes. All right, this is our 5th episode, and on the last episode of the Happy Place Homestead show, we talked about our family. And so I am excited that we get a chance to talk about them again here on the reality bonus because I like talking about my kids. So before we get to bragging about our kids, we often get asked, like, why do you have 9 kids? And so we thought we would share a little bit about why we have 9 kids.
I feel like this is going to be the kind of moment where when you're hanging out with some adult and he takes out his phone and is like, do you want me to show you pictures of my kids and my grandkids? And you're like, sure, that'll be great. and you hate it. We're going to make this a little interesting, though. Really, obviously we have a lot of kids, and they didn't all happen at once because Linda's not a cat. She doesn't have a litter. But the thing is, we actually, when we were very young, we got married when we were 21, and I remember that we had explored just a whole bunch in our faith on what it looked like to give yourself to God, and we were all in. At that point, we were hardcore with the Lord, trying to live for Him, and for some of you, that's language that's maybe not familiar to you, but we just really wanted to be faithful to the teachings that we'd been given. And we used birth control in the beginning, and about 3 months into our marriage, we were like, what are we waiting for? Like, we dated a whole bunch of years before this. We want to start a family. We want to see what God does. And so we said yes.
I think there was a couple of things that played a part as to why we decided to stop using contraception. And it was, one was the side effects. I don't know. I never liked the idea of taking medicine. And so taking something and reading the list of side effects freaked me out quite a bit. So I was like, I don't want any part of that. And then, but really for us, ultimately, it was an issue of faith. Do we trust God? You know, we've walked with God. We felt like, for several years at that point. And, we're supposed to be good stewards and trust God with our money and with our health and with our future, our career, all these things. And it's like, why wouldn't we trust God with our fertility? Does God know more than we do about this? Does He know what's good for us, what we can handle? Is He trustworthy? And so it was an issue of faith. It was not an issue of theology for us. And so we jumped right into parenthood, but it was not an easy landing.
Yeah.
I landed with a thunk pretty bad. I grew up not babysitting. I was scared to death to babysit. I never played with baby dolls when I was young. People think, oh, you have 9 kids, you must have been a natural. I was not a natural. I still don't think I'm a natural. I'm not. Motherhood did not come naturally to me. And I went into motherhood with my first one, and I struggled a lot with postpartum depression. I did with each of my children. I learned how to cope with that throughout the different pregnancies. But it was hard for my type A personality to deal with a new baby. And so motherhood, not easy. Parenthood for us wasn't a super easy fit. And so how did we end up with 9? It was just, like you said, right? One at a time, and we trust God with it. And there were times that when I found out I was pregnant, I would throw things. We argued. I was very upset at times. But we have never, ever regretted having the 9 that we have.
Yeah. It's interesting because we'll go out, especially when we had them all together and they were younger. We'd go to restaurants and people would come up and they're like, are they all yours? And, I had so many funny responses. I wanted to say, like, no, we stole some. But, we're on the run, hoping this won't give us away. The thing is, though, is that we didn't have any multiples. And, so usually the response is, yeah, they're all ours and only one spouse.
Yeah, I would get that. They're all the same dad, you know? Yes.
Well, he's fatter now, so it's kind of different.
Yes.
But the thing about it was, I understand that. Like, it is overwhelming to think, good grief, like 9 kids, that's amazing. And it's overwhelming if I think about it. But, we had one, and then a couple years later we had another, and a couple years later we had another. And I remember when we had 3, there's this kind of mental realization that we should just have 30 now because obviously we're outnumbered. It's going to be difficult. But we started noticing the older ones wanting to be involved, and that's where the difference happens. I think is that in the beginning with one or two, you're constantly going in this and that direction, and you're trying to entertain and make sure that they're safe and
You're still trying to do things perfect.
right.
At some point, you let go of that.
Oh, he's just eating glue. It's okay. So, but the older ones would get involved, and then you realize, oh my gosh, they have a playmate all the time. Like, how cool is that? But I think we kind of realized this is a beautiful gift, and it really was okay, Lord, you could have this. And I remember we had, I don't know if it was 7 or 8 kids, but when we decided that we wanted to move from Florida to Ohio, we thought about adoption.
We had 4. Actually 5. We just had our 5th, yeah.
Yeah, that's the number.
7 or 8.
I don't know. How many kids do we have? So we just thought, well, maybe we should adopt because, there are so many amazing families out there that have adopted children, and we thought that's a beautiful gift. And then Linda went and got pregnant, and we realized that for us, our sacrifice and our gift was to be open to life and to care for and love the ones we were given. The other comment that we get a lot is, I couldn't imagine having that many kids. One is hard enough, and we'd always say, I get that. Like, one can be overwhelming and exhausting.
That's all it takes to throw you in your butt. Yep.
So we never went about, let's have as many kids as we can, and we're going to show you that this is what it looks like to be a good Catholic.
Right. We're not.
It wasn't ever in our mindset like that. And there's a lot of people that we know who wish they could have more. And that was the other thing that we would hear a lot was, man, I wish we could have had more. I wanted a bigger family. And the ache that they've gone through, we've joined in that sorrow, knowing that these people had such a heart for motherhood. I often feel like the kids that we've been given show us areas in our life that we are still selfish in ways that we can be selfless. And so it's been a great journey.
Since it was a year ago, we did want to do a quick update as to what's going on with each of the kids because there's a lot has happened in a year when you have a large family.
Yeah. So the oldest, Hannah, last year she had a baby and they were living in, I think they had just moved from Las Vegas to Dallas. And this year they are down in Southwest Florida area. And she's teaching elementary school again. And she's also still doing her blogging and influencing with fashion. And,
Oliver's 2.
Yep.
And
her husband, James, is doing great with his job.
Work, and they moved there to be closer to family, which is nice because they were, young families need that extra connection with families. Yep. And, so Hannah is Hannah McDonald at Glam Life Living. So I'm plugging that.
Yeah.
And so they're doing well. And then we have Sarah, who is the second oldest, who has our granddaughter Audrey, who lived with us for many years in the mustard seed cabin. This last year, they moved out. They still are local here with us. And she will be getting married, thank God, in May. To Dean. Dean's been around forever. And, I love, actually, as big as my family is, I actually really love that it's continuing to grow. That we now have almost 3 son-in-laws, and we have 3 grandchildren, and that this family just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I love it. I love them all. I love all these additions. So grandbabies and son-in-laws, I love. So Dean, they'll be married next year. Sarah is still nursing. She's doing labor delivery. And there's a great future episode, so you have to stay tuned. A great episode that Sarah is featured sharing her story. It's going to be very powerful.
Yeah, it's awesome. Madeline is our third, and she's married. And she married a Marine, and they're down in North Carolina. And
that was since the filming. She got married right after. We had last fall was a crazy few months because we had the filming in October. And then November, we went to New Zealand and then came home and then went back to the Philippines. We were gone almost a whole month. Came home, went back to Tampa for a conference.
That's right.
Came home, had Christmas, and then a wedding. And so it was crazy. But they're in, did you say North Carolina?
Yep.
Because Jason, our son-in-law, is a Marine. And they are doing well. They're a very sweet young family because they're young.
Yep.
Whereas we were young when we got married.
Yeah.
Hannah and James were a little older. Sarah and Dean are a little older, and so it's kind of nice to see how we see some similarities in
Right.
Maddie and Jason, and they have
little Caswell.
Caswell.
He is yummy.
So
oh
cute.
my
Yes.
gosh.
Of course. I mean Oliver too. They say they see the similarities in the cousins, but I think they have very distinct looks.
Oh my gosh.
Different looks. Yeah.
So it's tough having grandkids away from you. I can sympathize with anyone who's watching your grandkids grow up in a different state, and so we cherish the pictures. We use an app called Marco Polo a lot, and because it's like video walkie-talkie, and so we can be anywhere, and they can send us notes when they have time, and these little videos of the grandchildren. It's special for us.
Yes.
After that, we have Noah, and Noah's down at Ave Maria, still finishing up his second year. And Noah went down there to be looking into potentially the priesthood, and I met a girl, and so I think we're gonna meet her a little bit more. She's gonna come up and spend some time, I think, in Christmas, and then he might be doing something medical. He's also majored in theology, and then we have Colby, and Colby is a senior in high school, so he's finishing up his year on a bang. He's doing drama, and he just finished up some volleyball. And
because last year was his first year with drama, and so he's back at that, which we would never have ever pegged him for that because he's such an introvert.
We didn't think he was going to leave his room.
But he's now, and he's also looking for colleges and doing that whole thing, working as a job. Hey.
That is a bonus.
That is a bonus. And then we have, everyone else is they just have gotten older and they're still doing their own thing. We have Mary, who was doing cross country last year and is still doing cross country, has kicked butt that year with
she did
that.
great. She cut 4 minutes off her mile.
It's amazing.
I added 4 minutes just walking to my bedroom.
But she is doing the college thing too, looking towards being college. She's a junior.
We'll see.
And then we have Jude is a freshman. So we have 3 in high school. And so, which is the second time that's happened for us. So that means that one day we'll have 3 in college, which is scary. That's very scary.
Yeah.
But Jude has followed his brother Colby into volleyball and then also into drama. But he's behind the scenes. Hopefully that skill will work out for us with his audio work.
Yeah. And then Joe, who's hilarious. He was going to go to Halloween this year as a college kid with too many student loans. And
that's his future.
It was hilarious.
And then we have Ella, Princess Little Ella, who is hysterical. We have said through the years that Ella, our youngest, is still young, so we have many years ahead of us that we can ruin her. And the older she gets, the more I realize that very well actually might happen. So anyway, we hope that you enjoyed this little catch-up, this little extra bonus footage. But we do appreciate that you have continued to encourage us with your comments. And we ask, please keep sharing, keep commenting. Encourage your friends to subscribe. Our little circle needs to get bigger and kind of take over your circle. Thanks so much for watching, and tune in next week. We have some really fun episodes and some very powerful episodes coming up. So,
thank you.